Thank you so much for joining us. I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter. This is Leadership Matters with Dr. Sharon. I have my guest here today. She is none other than Katrina Riley. She is known as the Principalnerd. She is a principal coach and educational career specialist. She has 20 years of educational experience. She served as teacher, coach, and principal. She's worked in 3 states, Florida, Louisiana, and Maryland. She holds a bachelor's degree in English from Florida State University and a master's degree in educational leadership from Nova Southeastern University. She completed the New Leaders for New School Principal Residency program in New Orleans in 2010. She has worked in public charter, nonprofit, she's school-based and district level. Her most recent work has been as an urban school principal, where she was instrumental in transforming schools and communities. She's a native of Gainesville, Florida, and currently resides in Orange Park, Florida. Miss Katrina Riley, welcome.
Thank you. You make me sound so great. I love it.
I am so excited that you are here tonight. I follow you. I just love the work that you're doing. I gave quite a bit of information about you, but please share a little more about who the Principalnerd really is.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, great. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharon. Principalnerd is me. When I became a principal, I was so excited, and that was one of the things that I always ended up summed up my post with was a hashtag Principalnerd. And that was like 5 or 6 years ago. And I had no idea at the time that that was going to really become and take on its own new persona and own new way of life, in a sense of some new work that I began doing. So like you mentioned before, I've had an opportunity to be a principal and work with a lot of school leaders. And Principalnerd really was birthed out of the void that I felt existed in the realm of school leadership. A lot of coaching wasn't taking place for school leaders. And that's where Principalnerd came from, having the option and building the platform for school leaders to receive the coaching that they need to be successful for the schools that they lead.
That is really awesome. And what I found out right before we went on air is that you stepped out of the principal role and are doing Principalnerd full time. I want to say congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
The work that we do is so impactful for our new leaders. Here we are. It's August. It's the beginning of the school year.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of schools have gone back. Some will go back at the after the Labor Day weekend. So what information our focus, and I think yours is too, is mainly those new administrators, those new principals, those new assistant principals who are stepping in their building for the first time. What message do you have for them right now here in day 1, week 1? What message do you have for them?
Well, what I always tell new principals is, especially in day 1, week 1, is to number 1, try the best that you can to remain calm and be yourself. A lot of times school leaders, especially when they become the principal, they feel that they need to take on this brand new persona, or the bad guy or the tough guy or the Joe Clark types of the world. And that's not really you. And when people encounter you for the very first time, they're going to be making judgment calls, assumptions, reading you as a person and reading you as a leader. So you want to really present who you are so that people know how to interact with you from day 1. And the other thing that I always tell brand new principals is set your expectations early. You know, you're not coming in changing everything, but you are coming in to listen and to learn, but to set your expectations of what you expect, how you do business, and you're setting your precedents for yourself of how people interact with you and how you interact with others. So just really look, listen, and learn as best you can with day 1, week 1, and you're not going to sleep. Get your cup of coffee ready, because there's not a lot of sleeping happening, and it now begins. There's no time. The honeymoon period is over, and you are ready to work. Get your skates and let's go.
That is so true. So, okay, now, school climate, school culture, we know that is huge. We must have a culture that's conducive to teaching and learning. Mm-hmm. We must have a positive culture. Okay, we're talking about this first year principal going into a school where, first of all, they're not really sure what the culture is. So they're going to have to assess, observe, and look. How can they begin shifting the culture if it needs shifting?
Keywords, if it needs shifting. So a lot of mistakes, one mistake that a lot of new principals make is they're going in and they're making change way too fast. And they haven't had a chance to really understand the historical context of the building that they're taking over, or they're now responsible to lead. So the first thing that I would encourage for any new principal going in is that you're having those really important conversations with all stakeholders, with members of your school building. And the culture shift, if needed, you will determine that from the conversations that you're having. You determine that from when you're walking your buildings the first couple of times. If you've had that luxury. If you're like me, in my very first principalship, I was hired with 5 days before the teachers returned. That included weekends. So 5 days before the teachers came. So that was really a blessing and a curse. And what I learned with having that short amount of time, I learned very quick key things that I needed to find out from key people. I needed to know how to hire and fire. I needed to know a quick and dirty on curriculum, and how could I spend money? Because those are the things that will get you booted right out of the door. If you misappropriate funds, if you cannot get the best and brightest in front of your teachers, in front of your students, and when you have somebody that's not cutting the mustard that are there, how can you get rid of them? And you needed to understand what your teachers are going to be responsible in terms of curriculum and instruction, and what your students are going to be given or needed to be receiving. So having those things kind of allowed me to throw out all of this large laundry list of materials and to-dos that I thought I was going to do as a brand new principal coming in, and really focus on the nuts and bolts of becoming a brand new principal. So when you're having those conversations with people in terms of culture and climate, you're taking a synopsis, you're doing an analysis of what is happening or has happened in the building. And then you're taking the time that's necessary to put a true plan in place, because what you don't want to do as a brand new principal is going in, making change, kind of insulting the past that was there, and then you're now left on an island to do the work all alone. So you want to include people that are key elements in your building, get to know the whys of what happened, and taking a look at what needs to happen immediately to effect change and what can be done over time. So determining what are your big whys right now, your big buckets, and putting a prioritized system in place.
Absolutely. And, you know, we're on Leadership Matters, but we also know that relationships matter.
Absolutely.
So how do you strengthen or deepen relationships, or how do you coach new principals to strengthen those relationships with their faculty and staff?
So you have to be approachable. And a lot of times people are not approachable out of fear. And you go back to what I said, you know, people are being someone that they're really not. Your new staff is trying to get to know you, and you're trying to get to know them. So open door policy doesn't mean that that your doors are always open and you never get anything done, but you have to be approachable and get out of that office a lot of times. Being out there, rolling up your sleeves, being a part of what's actually happening among your campus will help you to appear approachable to your staff. Invite staff members to come and chit chat with you about what's going on and sharing ideas about what's going to happen. And those are the ways that I feel like people best build relationships. Get to know your staff. You don't have to invite them to Sunday dinner, but doing things that make people feel good, that are you and that are genuinely you. So if you're not Superwoman fuzzy, I always encourage people, just, you know, that's a growth area that you may need to become, or put someone in place to kind of help balance that part of you out, so that you can appear to be approachable to your staff to help you to build the relationships that are needed. Because people aren't going to work for you and work hard. The work that we know that we have to do is extremely hard and tiresome for people who they feel don't genuinely care about them, and haven't built a vested interest into them and their work. I think you're muted.
Thank you.
Okay.
One of the things that I've done, I've worked with new principals, new assistant principals for the last 5 years. And every year, one of the major things that come up is self-care, work-life balance, something that is so terribly hard for new administrators. What advice would you give to that new administrator who wants to do it all, want to stay in the building half the night? And actually, and it's not all, you know what, it's not only new principals.
Yes.
Because we've all been there. So what would you say to those individuals? Because self-care is so important.
Oh gosh, we have to practice that early on. And if we have anybody that's listening that are also managers of new principals and school leaders, we play a part in that as well. So we can't keep harping to them saying work-life balance and we're giving them 1,000,001 things to do. So it's got to take a culture shift from the top a lot of times, but also I encourage people that are brand new, even if it's not happening at the top, you got to take care of yourself. You're only as good to your building as you are to you. And I'll speak from experience. You know, I tell people my very first principalship was rocky. It was crazy with those 5 days. I mean, I was working nonstop around the clock. And within the first month, I ended up in the hospital from dehydration because I was not taking care of myself. I really wasn't eating. I really wasn't drinking enough water. I wasn't getting enough sleep because I was living, breathing, and sleeping the building. And what ended up happening was we had a training scheduled and we couldn't even participate in the training because I wasn't there to lead the training. So, you know, the work still has to go on, but I really learned early on that I've got to take care of myself. And we say that a lot of times, but oftentimes it's a little too late or we get that warning and we just ignore it. I tell people you've got to schedule the time for yourself. So that means blocking off your doctor's appointments and going on your doctor's appointments. Stop allowing yourself to feel guilty when you shut down for doing any work. Or if you're taking your vacation. When I created our 90-day kickstart for principals, I highlighted the red zone, a yellow zone, and a green zone. And the red zone is to let you know that, okay, this is where it's going to feel really, really intense. You're not getting as much sleep as you should. This is before the teachers return. This is all the stuff that you're doing to get prepared. Then you should be seeing yourself in the yellow zone when it's starting to get a little bit easier. Teachers have returned. Your work balance should start to feel a little bit lighter. And then in that green zone, if you're still working and it's October, November, December, and you still feel like it's in the red zone, that's a clear flag for you to say, hey, we need to put some different systems in place. But you have to take care of yourself. You've got to put those things in place. I tell people to kind of put into their calendar their days that they're going to already tell themselves and their people who care about them in home that they're going to work late, and know that that's the time that you're going to work late. And then you also have time in your schedule that you're not doing any work, period. No excuses. For me, it was Thursday nights because that's when Scandal was on. So I had to have my wine and my time with Scandal, and it was uninterrupted. Teachers knew they weren't going to text me and I wasn't going to respond. I was not responding on Thursday. Leave me alone. And I spent the time and I made up time throughout the week. I did what I needed to do, knowing that Thursday evening was blocked out for me, and that was it. I built in my workout times, and those times were non-negotiable. And I encourage new principals to do the same. Block in your times that are non-negotiable times that you're not going to get any work, that you're not doing any work, so that you can build and pace yourself accordingly around your life and not the other way around.
I love that. It's just so imperative that we really send that message to our new administrators, because they've seen what their principal's been doing. So it's a learned behavior. And so you've got to get them out of that cycle. Just, take some time for yourself. So now let's talk about the Principalnerd and the services that you provide.
Okay, so Principalnerd, as the Principalnerd, I help aspiring school leaders reach their educational career goals. So that is everyone who is looking to promote from teacher leader to assistant principal, assistant principals who are looking to promote to principals, and I also work with brand new beginning principals to keep themselves hired in their role. And so all the services include everything from having a 90-day kickstart for brand new principals to help them with some of the tools that they need to get up and running as brand new principals once they get their keys to the building. Also just started a assistant principal academy for brand new assistant principals to kind of figure out, like, oh my gosh, what do I do? How do I maneuver this brand new role of leadership, and how do I transition from there? Also working with new assistant principals and principals in terms of coaching. So I not only provide digital products, I have a digital ebook, working on my new book that'll be coming out in the next 2 months, but also providing coaching services for brand new assistant principals and principals for anything that they need, anything from trying to get hired, how to maneuver throughout their first couple of 90 days and beyond. So it runs a gamut of the services that I offer through Principalnerd.
Awesome. And so I cannot talk to you and not talk about even though you just now transitioned to a full-time entrepreneur, I love my edupreneurs, those educators who are still educating and also decide to branch out into the entrepreneurship. I'm an advocate for that. I have my Edupreneurs Rock group, and we encourage each other through the Facebook group. Tell me, why do you think it's important for educators who have these skills and passions, whether it's education or not? Because I always emphasize that we have educators who can make beautiful jewelry. We have educators who are stand-up comedians. We have educators who are financial gurus. You know what I mean? So just so many things that we are able to do. And that's really the nature of our profession. We wear many hats in our profession. So what would you say is important for those educators who are teetering with, should I start my own business while I'm teaching or while I'm an administrator? What would you say to that?
I will say that we are in a generational age where we have so many more resources than our predecessors did. We are no longer held to working until retirement to then working, tap into our other creative sides of ourselves. And especially for women, it can happen for men too, but I'm a woman, so women's empowerment, but especially for women, we are just naturally geared to do multiple things. So as an educator, we shouldn't just limit ourselves to just one vein or one track of our lives. And I battled with that. I really did. I said, well, I'm going to do consulting after I've retired, or I'm going to wait until after whenever after was to actually get started. And I began to notice that there were so many people who were conducting trainings that I was sitting in that didn't look like me, hadn't had nearly as many years of experiences that I have had, or the type of experiences that I've had. And I was frustrated, and I would just be like, why are we listening to these people? Like, what's making them credible? Who's paying these people? Like, how is this happening? And, I just realized I can either keep talking about it or I'm going to be about it. And I said, I had to start talking to myself and realizing and reminding myself that I had talents just like this other person that was standing in front of the room had talents, and I probably could even do it better. And there's so many of us that are working in schools, that are turning around schools. We have great turnaround stories. We have messages that we need to share about how we are transforming the lives of kids and their communities and their future generations, and they look like us. And we're not sharing those stories. For some reason, we have allowed ourselves to get excited, which is good, but we've also gotten complacent with our new insurgence of leadership roles, and that also comes money and access and all of those things, and we have lost the ability to tap into our creative sides, and that's unfortunate. And we need to be able to be multifaceted as people, as women, as educators, to be able to then be able to sit at multiple tables to impact change for our kids. So becoming an entrepreneur was a lot more than just for me, but it allowed me to hopefully begin to have a different seat at different tables to start really impacting change. So I'm not just in one area of education. And I think that's going to help make us better educators because we're tapping into what we enjoy, and we're having multiple things that we really enjoy to help us kind of have a balance to our lives to really still continue to stay in the game of education and not completely pull out altogether.
I believe that as well. I really do. So are there 2 or 3 guiding leadership principles that you live by? What are some guiding principles that you attribute to your success as a school leader?
I truly believe in mentoring. So being a mentor as well as receiving mentoring, and also being a coach and receiving coaching. So always being able to help someone and then putting yourself in a position to still be coachable and trainable. So that's really important. Always learning, always being open for new ideas and new things. I also feel like you have to really continue to be a learner and know what's actually going out. You're not above learning. You're not above networking and connecting with people because you cannot do it alone. So building that large, casting that net out there for you to bring in, if you're working with students, if you're working with teachers, doing whatever you necessarily can to connect with people to enlarge your territory for the people that you serve. And lastly, making a decision with kids' faces on them. Like for any educator that are coming in, if you're ever grappling with, am I making the right decision? Am I doing the right thing? Always remember and check yourself with if you're doing this in the best interest of a child, and is your decision having a child's face attached to your decision.
I love it. I love it. So what would be a final message to principals, specifically our newbies that are starting their fresh year, 2018-19 school year is their first year as a school principal? What would be your final message for them?
My final message would be is to keep the fire, keep the level of excitement that you have right now. You're excited. You pulled up to that building. You parked in your parking space. You took pictures and you were so excited. You had tons of ideas that's been burning inside of you for months now. Keep that same level of excitement that you had coming in. That is going to be what's going to help to propel you as you continue to motivate your staff and others around you to get the work done. Journal, keep an idea of what's actually been happening so you can go back and reflect on your record, and don't beat yourself up because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Brush yourself off and keep pushing. Find yourself a really good mentor and coach to help you stay in the game and push yourself while you're in the game.
Katrina Riley, I am just so excited. Please give everyone all of your contact information, how they can connect with you, how can they join your group, and just how, if they need your services, please share that information.
Thank you so much. So to reach me, you can go to my website, which is www.principalnerd.com. There you'll find tons of information of the resources that I have available for assistant principals, brand new principals, coaching services, and even some freebies that I offer. If you're interested in joining a group of principals and assistant principals, you can join me on Facebook, where I have the Principalnerd Tribe. Just find me on Facebook /Principalnerd Tribe, and there just answer a couple of questions and you'll be admitted to join us. And we are up to almost 400 people right now. So we're sharing really great information as tribe members in the Principalnerd Tribe. And you can also follow me on Instagram under Principalnerd. All great ways that you can reach me. And if you are following me as I write, and I've finished writing this book, it should be out soon, you can join my email list at www.principalnerd.com/hey and get on my email list.
I love it. I love it. Well, I tell you, you're definitely going to have to come back when your book is published so we can talk about that, dive into that. I really appreciate you taking the time out tonight to be on Leadership Matters. And my last question always is, in your opinion, why does leadership matter?
Leadership matters because leadership is where change happens.
I love it. Thank you so much for being my guest today. This is Katrina Rowley, the Principal Nerd. Katrina, I'll ask you to put all of your contact information in the feed once we get off, just in case they did not catch it from the verbal. So definitely, guys, I want to thank you for joining Leadership Matters. Again, we're here on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock talking to awesome and amazing school leaders and all of our K-12 leaders and superintendent. So I thank you for joining us, and you can follow us on LM Dr. Sharon on Twitter. So thank you so much. And guys, Leadership Matters will be recognizing first year principals and assistant principals all through September. So please, if you're a first year principal, assistant principal, or if you know one, please have them check me out so that we can recognize them and cheer them on for the year to come. So awesome. Yes, absolutely. So guys, this is Dr. Sharon saying Leadership Matters. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you.